Some time ago, we cast a High Elf Mirror match sent in by Lenorm playing against Mr. Tufel, and surprisingly, Mr. Tufel also sent in a replay playing against Lenorm at the same time in this battle of Dark Elves versus the Lizardman, a battle between races in Game 2. Mr. Tufel leading the Dark Elf army will be leading with Malekith and having a rather infantry-focused formation with a bunch of Bleak Swords in the front, a core of Dark Shards with shields and some without. In the middle, a single Harkonneth Executioner protected by a whole bunch of Dread Spears surrounding this missile box. For mobility, we have some Dark Riders on the flanks, as well as some Scourge Runner Chariots, very staple stuff here, anti-large, anti-armor. Combined with the Dark Shards, they can easily focus down some scary Lizardman monsters. As for Malekith, he will be a powerful melee combatant and also nice spellcasting supporter. Soul Stealer, Gaze of Malice, Stand Your Ground, and Noxious Breath, providing all those fire support for the Dark Elf army. As for Lenorm's Lizardman army, they have a whole lot of Chameleon Skinks, which are excellent skirmishers and also decent backline harassers. A bunch of Saurus warriors mixed in with cohort of Sotak, regiment of renowned red-crested skink as the first line of melee infantry, backed up by a whole bunch of skink cohorts with javelins to focus down key targets of the Dark Elf army, for example Malekith, as their high missile strength as the javelins will be doing decent damage even against armored monsters. Now, further back, we have some Bastiladon solar engine firepower, providing blind effects as well as just single entity sniping power, also blasting away possibly the Dark Shards as they can. Now, for the other Bastiladon, Arc of Sotak, very staple stuff. In general, a really strong blob clearing unit, as strong as the Mortis engine. Supported by a Skink Priest of Beasts coming in with the Manticore Summon, as well as the Amber Spears to shut down enemy cavalry units and sniping single entities. The non-caster characters are also going sniping heavy, with Oxyotl and the Skink Chief basically trying to snipe out those powerful Dark Elf characters, but will they succeed? We shall find out. We'll see some early game skirmishing with the Lizardmen here as the Chameleon Skinks chip away the health of the Bleak Swords. Of course, Bleak Swords with shields doesn't take a lot of damage, and instead the Solar Engine is the one blasting away at their ranks, leaving a mark on the battlefield and a lot of dead bodies. On the side, Scourge Runners are flanking around. Their auto fire are going into the Chameleon Skinks, not exactly a good trade for them as they're taking some chip damage and also wasting a lot of their expensive ammo, which is rather limited and should have been shooting into Bastiladons and whatnot instead of wasting it on loosely packed cheap infantry. The front line though are closing in on each other, with Malekith diving onto the Skink Chief, taking a huge chunk of health away from him. Skink Chief, not being a melee combatant, will quickly back off, but the Chameleon Skinks and also some of the javelins are ready to fire back, chipping away Malekith's health. Of course, he can basically heal that all back out with Soul Stealers, but he is still persuaded away by a torrent of blow dots. On the front line, a lot of these cohorts of Sotak, Saurus warriors are pushing into the front line. Cohorts of Sotak manage to sneak onto one of the Dark Shards through the gaps, while the Dark Shards are just focusing down this poor Bastiladon, leaving a bloody mark on the battlefield. Now on the side, Bleak Swords are being beaten down by all these Saurus warriors as they are a powerful mid-tier melee infantry. Dread Spears pushing in, and also some of these Bleak Swords hoping to pin down the cohort of Sotak, but the floodgates are open and the cohort of Sotak are onto one of the Dark Shards and now will be routing them. A massive Flock of Doom is draining the health of all the Dark Elf infantry, while another Dark Shard is threatened. In the skies, Malekith is taking some damage from a combination of blow dots and javelins, and he will be moving over to this Arc of Sotak, who just dumped its poisonous vortex onto the Dread Spears. While on the far flank over here, Dark Riders are not exactly charging in, instead tangled upon on some Chameleon Skinks. They're being shot to pieces by a combination of a lot of Chameleon Skinks and some javelins. Now there are more Dark Elf infantry pushing forward, but some of the Bleak Swords are already broken and routed. Still, they are making some decent progress with the one single Harkonneth Executioner slaughtering their way through the Saurus, who relies on their 60 armor and 34 melee defense to protect themselves, which the Harkonneth Executioner with anti-infantry and armor piercing can easily overcome. In the skies, Malekith is down to half health thanks to all those javelins and Chameleon Skinks, now a little bit clumped up as they are trying to move forward and push into the Dark Shards and whatnot. These Dark Shards are really exposed and really need to be hit by a bunch of Skink cohorts in melee combat, but it seems that Lenorm here has other plans. Ark of Sotak, seeing a huge clump of infantry, gladly charges into the fray, using the Ark of Sotak's poison ability to drain their health. And at the back over here, all these Scourge Runner chariots are trying to roam around the battlefield, find a good target to shoot at, but unfortunately, the Skink Cohorts and Chameleon Skinks are continuously pursuing them with the help of Skink Chief and Oxyotl, doing some massive damage over time, while they are finally able to shoot at the Bastillodon. In the front line, Malekith one man is carrying the entire game, actually one man and a dragon, with Soul Stealer draining the health of a whole bunch of Skink Cohorts and including the Bastillodon as well, providing some crucial heals to Malekith as he beats down the Ark of Sotak. At the far back, Dark Riders are securing the back line, just charging, chasing down all the Skink Cohorts as the Dark Shards are moving to a place of safety. While back to the front line, the Dark Shards are under the influence of a Flock of Doom and a lot of blow dart fire, so they will be retreating as well, as they do not have the armor or shield to tank those missiles. So Mr. Tufel will try to stem that tide of Chameleon Skinks using those Dread Spears to hold the line, though the Dread Spears themselves, after taking so much damage, is wavering themselves. Another case of malice goes into the Chameleon Skinks. Not a bad call here, but this more blobbed up infantry is probably a better choice, as Malekith will be punching this poor solar engine, routing it off, while there are more Scourge Runners ramming into these Chameleon Skinks, routing them as well. On the far side, Dark Riders have secured the backline along with some help of some tattered Bleak Swords. Harknef Executioner pushing forward. There's not a lot of options for the Lizardmen to finish these heavy infantry, due to Ark of Sotak being so beat up and also Bastillodon being routed as well. If the Nom wants to deal with the Harknef Executioners, he has to protect the Bastillodons if they regroup, as the Skink Infantry will not be able to fight those Infantry Killers, since they do not have much armor piercing themselves. While over here in the front line, Skink Chief and Oxyotl are running the hell away from Malekith, as their last of their front line are being broken apart by that terror from Seraphon. Over here, Greek Swords holding back a whole bunch of Javelin Skink Cohorts and some tattered Saurus Warriors. Chameleon Skinks pushing back in again, hoping to skirmish down Malekith, but Malekith, sneakily doing some left-right shifting maneuvers, will be dodging away some shots from the Chameleon Skinks. Yes, Chameleon Skinks are not primarily armor piercing, but still 3 AP per shot is not bad when you're trying to shoot up some armored targets with huge hitbox. But with the push of the Bleak Swords, the Chameleon Skinks are on the run, relying Solar Engine and maybe Ark of Sotak to push away these Bleak Swords, and indeed they are terrified and got hit by the Sotak's poison as well. Over here, Scourge Runners are still taking damage from the chip damage of these Chameleon Skinks, while Malekith really insistent on routing that Ark of Sotak, which is a good call to be fair, though this does put him into the crossfire zone of a bunch of Chameleon Skinks and he'll be taking some damage. But there are more Dark Riders ramming in, silencing these Chameleon Skinks and doing some good damage, while Oxyotl is now under the threat of both Malekith's melee attacks and the Soul Stealer. Not exactly a great situation for poor Oxyotl here, but it does take the pressure off of the Bastillodon, allowing it to ram straight into the Scourge Runners and routing them. Another case of Malice clearing out a bunch of infantry, while at the back there are a lot of Dark Shards, even one very healthy one. Given that the Lizardman no longer has much artillery or mobility, the Dark Shards can fire without interruption, safely eliminating enemies from a distance. Anyways, let's fast forward a little bit as both armies are trying to maneuver. Malekith quickly routing the Skink Priest, but not before he summons one final Manticore. An extremely clutch summon, as the Manticore will be able to pursue and pressure Malekith in the skies, doing some nice damage to Malekith. Even the Solar Engine tries to fire some laser at Malekith, but it misses. Bastillodon, though, getting too close to the front line, exposing himself into the range of these Dark Shards, will be taking massive damage from the counterfire, while the Fro Manticore is still relentlessly pursuing Malekith, even managing to catch him and stop him in his tracks with an attack, allowing the Solar Beam to hit. But unfortunately, another Soul Stealer comes down, hitting 4 units from the Lizardman roster and also healing Malekith. Certainly great news for Dark Elves with his leadership stabilizing. Chameleon Skinks rushing in with the help of some Skink Cohorts. They should be able to rout off these Dark Shards, no problem, but the problem is still Malekith being relatively healthy. Oxyotl as well as the Skink Chief doesn't exactly have the best burst damage to finish him off. Right now, a lot of Chameleon Skinks are entering into combat, as they do have some decent melee stats. 21 attack, 23 defense, and also poison to debuff enemies' melee stat line. They should be able to hold on okay against the Dread Spears, but with Dark Riders charging into the fray, this might be too much for these Skink skirmishers. Now let's go back into the middle with Malekith taking a massive hit from Oxyotto's ability and then an Ember Spear. That completely wrecks the remaining health on Malekith, putting his leadership down to wavering territory. He'll be diving down hoping to hit up Oxyotto there, but there are some Chameleon Skinks over screen out the Bleak Sword, so Malekith will be alone right now, being shot in the back by the Skink Chief, pushing Oxyotto away, Oxyotto quickly running away from him, somehow managing to prevent Malekith from hitting him. That gave more time for the skirmishers to chip away the health of Malekith. The Witch King is routed and something is need to be done to make sure he doesn't come back. So Oxyotto continuously shooting up Malekith down to 200 health, so 2 more shots or even 1 shot is enough for Oxyotto to finish him, and indeed he does. With the Dark Elves losing their lord, the Lizardman has a slightly better chance to make a comeback. Though there are still plenty of Dark Elf infantry who are still holding on, and the Lizardman needs to kill them off. This includes one very healthy Dark Shard, Dread Spears holding on, and of course the most annoying threat for the Lizardman right now, the Haganeth Executioner. There's literally no tools for the Lizardman to deal with it. All they can do is rely on Oxyotto's shot, hoping to shoot away as many Haganeth Executioners as possible. Unfortunately, nothing is screening for the Lizard characters, as the Chameleon Skinks and the Javelin Skinks are basically busy chasing off routing units and maybe charge into these Dark Shard units, who will be great threat in this kind of late game with nothing to threaten them other than some rather slow moving melee infantry. With less than 50 speed, the Chameleons will take some time before reaching the Dark Shards. Some Haganeth Executioners are pursuing the Chameleons, but Chameleons are still faster than these heavy bulky infantry. They will be quickly running away from their pursuers, instead going after the Dark Shards. Chameleons might have missile resistance, but that still doesn't change the fact that they are taking massive Overwatch fire damage from the Dark Shards. Anyways, let's fast forward here as the Chameleon Skinks charges straight for the Dark Shards, now being tangled in melee as the Dark Shards actually counter-charge. A really nice reaction there. And Haganeth Executioner charging into the Chameleon Skinks, sandwiching them, routing them straight away. Now, all that Mr. Tufo has to do is to charge these Haganeth Executioners into these heroic units. There are a bunch of skin cohorts as well coming back. At this point, even with the Dark Elves losing their Liege Lord, with only skin cohorts to fight from the Lizardman army, the Haganeth Executioners alone can carry the game. Massive thanks to Mr. Tufel for sending in this replay, and GG to both players, including the Norm. This was a great game here with the Lizardmen doing a great job with the skirmishing infantry. All these Chameleon Skinks got some quite substantial value over the course of battle, and also Oxyotto getting over 2,000 gold worth of damage value, slaying Malekith on Seraphon. However, Malekith with the Soul Stealer healing is just so oppressive. Over 3k worth of damage value, hunting down all the Bastillodons, smacking them all over the place, and then with the Soul Stealer, Gaze of Malice and Dragon Breath attack, draining the health and destroying a whole bunch of infantry, single entities alike, and of course with his powerful melee prowess. There is pretty much nothing that can challenge him in a melee fight in this battle. Now for the rest of the units on the Dark Elf side, Executioners got over 1k worth of damage value, not quite earning back their own cost due to being shot up by a bunch of darts, including Oxyotto's own shots. And then Scourge Runners, one of them not quite getting the value, probably spending too many shooting at the Chameleon Skinks, but the other earned back its own value and then some more. Dark Shards doing alright mostly, but nothing too substantial other than this one unit who survived into the late game, upholding that balance of power, allowing the Dark Elves to push the Lizardmen into army losses. Now for the infantry, did okay across the board as most of them were fighting a whole lot of skink infantry, while the Saurus warriors were being dealt with by a combination of Haganeth Executioners, Malekith, and also Dark Shards. Combined with their shields absorbing a whole lot of missiles, they did alright overall, while Dark Riders, not a lot of good targets to fight. Yes, they can charge down the Chameleon Skinks, but Chameleon Skinks are actually okay in fighting off light cavalry, with the combination of their decent melee stats, the ability to still shoot while being attacked, and also that poison debuff. Now, for the Lizardman side, other than the skirmishers, there's not a lot of value among all the rest of the units. Arc of Sotak being heavily focused by a combination of Dark Shards, and Malekith didn't quite earn back its value. while the Bastillodon with solar engine there as well, not a lot of good targets to shoot at after being repelled by a bunch of dark shot firepower. The cohort of Soltech did some good damage chasing down a whole bunch of dark shot, but in the end they got dragged down by the pure numbers from the Dark Elves, while the Saurus Warrior didn't really do too well here, fighting through so many Dark Elf infantry and also being rammed by a bunch of Scourge Runner chariots. Chameleon Skinks, they did really well as I've said already, while the skink cohorts with javelins, most of them earned back their own value and then some. Using their javelins, they managed to chip away a lot of health on the Scourge Runners and also Malekith on Seraphon. But unfortunately, Malekith's healing means that a lot of their missile damage are mitigated in the end, even if Oxyotl and the Skink Priest of Beast were able to put some good damage into Malekith, combined with the help of the Skink Chief. Anyways, that is all for today. I hope viewers you enjoy this battle, and if you do and want to see more, be sure to hit the like and subscribe to receive updates when I upload new videos, including battle replays like this one, wild army builds, and also tips and strategies for Total Warhammer multiplayer. If you want to showcase your own replay, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tacticallich, signing out.